another edition of VAFA Tragics. I'm Andrew Leonard, Brenton Mann. We didn't last long as a duo, it's fair to say.
No, the powers that be have put their foot down and we're back to four, but I think we did a pretty good job last week.
I thought we did an ample job, or a beautiful job in fact, and I was quite happy just for us to continue as a duo for the rest of the year.
Oh, so was I, but we've got our good friend Will Balm.
It is a very good evening to Will Balm. Nice to have you on board.
Thank you, Andrew. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Got the red vest off and green vest on for the rest of the year, so that's a nice one to have you in.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the call up, and so thank you.
Okay. Marty Callagher, good to have you back. Unavailable last week.
Yes.
Hamstring tightness, or what was it?
General soreness.
General soreness?
General soreness in my case, yes.
Too many Tabilks possibly? Or?
Far too many, and yes, there was another weekend of that as well.
It's been good to have a full round of football back up. Let's get straight into it, into William Buck Premier section. We'll start having a look at Old Trinity and Old Scotch. And Brenton, I believe you had a bit of a look at this game. Old Trinity came from behind to beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, 17 points down at the last change and got up by 8 points in the end. Now, the Cardinals, they'll be wrong in this one. They had the better of the last quarter. They played the game on their terms, but when Trinity needed to, just their class players stepped up when they needed to. And again, for Old Scotch, execution by foot really let them down, but their effort and intensity was there. They were patient with the football. They denied Old Trinity the football, played the game along the wings, didn't allow Trinity to use the corridor, but yeah, going inside 50, they just couldn't find a target in the last quarter.
Are Old Scotch done? Are they going to be relegated? Can you say that yet, or is it too much to go?
I don't think after the Collegians result, I don't think it's set. So I think obviously Bowie are gone, but
he's going out.
Yeah, I think Bowie
He went the
gone,
early crow a few weeks ago, and you.
And I did, so I don't want to go too early with this one, but I think between Collegians and Old Scotch, I'm not going to put concrete. I don't think they're gone yet, but they're hanging by the skin of their teeth.
Morris do host Old Scotch this week, so that's a big game for Bowie if they're to get out.
I was just going to ask a question. Did the smaller ground at Old Scotch, did that hamper Old Trinity's powerful running game?
I don't think it did. When they had the ball, they looked really good. So when they were allowed to use the corridor and use the ball by hand through there and really play that really blitz, they really play a blitzkrieg style football.
Yes.
But they both sides peppered the goals in the last quarter. But yeah, I don't think the small game didn't play a part. But I think Old Scotch they put a lot of pressure on Old Trinity.
But was that as a result of the smaller ground, able to close the game up just a little bit more? I mean, if you compare that to Daly, which is probably, which is a huge ground to play on. Would Old Scotch have been more comfortable, and would they have actually almost ticked the box and said, this is a game we really can pinch?
I guess in that aspect, with the small game, they probably did condense the play, I guess, and put a lot more numbers around the ball. But Old Scotch, I'll say it again, they were rude this one. They had a chance to beat one of the top sides in Premier.
Marty, you had a look at Carey and De La Salle. De La had a lot of scoring shots, and it was a second draw of the year for Old Carey.
Look, it was probably one that both teams, and I would say, would look at this and say it's the one that got away. De La, with the wind in the first and third quarter, kicked. So in those combined 2 quarters, 4 goals, 11. Compare that with Carey, with 8 goals, and all of a sudden the game's a very different complexion. De La kicks 2-7 in the first quarter. If that all of a sudden is 6-3, 7-2, it could be a very different game. De La are a team that, given their situation and knowing where they are, particularly they're fighting against Scotch and Collegians, I suppose, if we do talk about that, and they're looking to get themselves out of the relegation. That was a game that if they get on a roll, they kick 6 or 7 early goals, the whole complexion of the game may change.
I think De La Salle have shown now that they're safe. They're good enough and they're out. Their form in the last few weeks has been sensational. I think they'll be playing William Buck Premier next year.
Marty's not too sure.
Well, he wrote us off 3 weeks ago.
I did write you off 3 weeks ago. Was it the impetus?
Oh.
Yeah, you must keep replaying that before every game.
Thanks very much. I get into enough trouble because of you down at that club.
One thing I do want to have a look at, Marty.
I'm happy to see this as well. I think that people should see this.
Now, obviously, De La Salle played very well to get back in the game. They earned a free kick late to
Hugh Nicholson.
I think there's about 4 minutes to go, and they get taken to the line with a 25-metre penalty. I presume for dissent there from the Carey defender who's given away the free kick. And before the ball can even be in the hands of the boundary umpires to run it back to the middle, a bit of push and shove goes on, and another free kick and goal eventuates for De La Salle to draw level. I'll leave you at home to make up your own mind on the adjudication of this one. Having said that, though, Ben Smithwick does have the chance later on with a set shot from pretty much directly in front from about 30 metres out, and you'd put your house on him normally to kick that goal, and he doesn't.
And you can see the D-Lar players around there, and their heads have dropped because they realise this is it. That's the game. He's going to kick it from there. However, can I just say, Ben, if he went back any further, he would have been at the other end of the ground. I mean, it was almost,
right.
Well, he was. If he went back so far, did he make the shot harder than it should have been?
Possibly, but I think also he seemed to be injured in the contest where he got the free kick, I think, as well. And he came up gingerly and slowly. He took a long time to take the kick, and then eventually took the kick and missed. And anyway, another draw for Old Kerry. It throws their chances of a first finals appearance in William Buck Premier into a bit of doubt now. They've only got the game advantage, and that draw just goes out the window. It's now down to percentage.
Agreed.
To the bottom, into two sides in the bottom three for Old Kerry. So
yeah, and that's not that's as I said, they're looking at that now as that's a bit of a loss for them.
Yeah.
That said, the last quarter, 37 minutes 20. Gee whiz. Now, Will, I know you like long last quarters, but you know, we actually do like to chop them just a little bit shorter than that up in Premier. However, I do realise that it's further down in.
Well, what happened in your game?
Well, actually, in the second quarter, it was a 40-minute quarter. In the St Mary's versus Kew game, no, just a lot of stoppages, and I wasn't playing with the calf strain, watching on. It was one of the most frustrating quarters I've ever watched. But you know, that's footy these days, apparently.
Yeah, a lot of stoppages going on in a lot of games around the grounds. Let's move on to Blacks and Blues, the uni derby. A lot of hype always going into these games. Both sides threw everything at each other, but in the end, it was probably Blues' execution more than anything, and their ability to make Blacks pay for their turnovers. As we saw in the second quarter when Blues extended their advantage, a couple of free kicks to Blues that went their way, and they got the rub of the green in that regard. And then also Blacks just some kicking errors out of their back line, and Blues made them pay on the scoreboard. The second half was a bit of a snooze fest from my perspective. Blacks looked like they'd mount a challenge. They were never able to get the goal to get back in the game, and Blues ran out with a victory. Both sides now level up their seasons.
It's a very disappointing fortnight for Blacks. They've lost to Old Zabs and now Blues, who are both hunting for that fourth spot. And did you
sorry, both are 6 and 7. Sorry.
Did you say hello to Gil while you were there?
Did say hello to Gil. He was on the barbecue. Gil McLaughlin there all turning sausages all day for Blues. Yeah.
Was it a cartel like it is in the AFL
not quite,
with the catering?
No, not quite. So Blues right in the mix now are back at 6 and 7. They're a game outside, as are Blacks of the 4.
So we're saying that Blues are back in the mix. Blacks.
I think they're really hurting from having Beedman out at the side and Charlie Richardson, of course, who was on suspension. So two of their prime movers in the midfield, they looked like they were hurting in that regard. Andrew Willingham did play his first game back in the senior side.
And his form was?
He was pretty good. He's pretty good, yep. So
is he injured?
No, he's all right.
Damn.
He's all right.
It's a great effort, on a side note, great effort by Old Kerry and Uni Blues, both promoted sides, I believe, to get in positive. Old Kerry, you'd think, are cemented in the top 4.
Mate, you went early. You're going early again.
Watch your words here.
Well, they may play. Both teams may play finals. Let's just put it that way.
Well, they're certainly in the mix, aren't they? I mean, I think that Kerry's draw has just taken that second draw has taken that advantage away.
Yep.
All of a sudden, if they had have won on Saturday, they're 6 points clear. Now they're only a game, and that can sometimes play.
And Blues still have a really strong percentage as well coming home. Yeah. Will, you had a look at Old Zabs and Beau Morris. Take us through what happened in that game.
I did indeed. It was a really tough first half between both sides. Bowie were only down by 9 points at half time, and for a side struggling, they came out with a lot of fire against the Zabs, as you do when you're playing as Zavarians at Toorak Park. But from that point on, I think the class of the Zavarians really showed. Matt Hanley kicked 5 goals, Marcus Allen kicked 4, that sort of thing. They were just too good in the end, and Beau Morris made some mistakes that they'll rue. But in the end, Xavier, they're the better side. So
this bit of vision of Matt Hanley tackling his opponent caught my eye.
It was, to say the least, Matt Hanley meant business on the weekend, and he smashed the guy. But it was good to see. It was fair, but Beau Morris reacted in a way that was both sides came out with a bit of fire. So it was played in the right spirit. So, but you can judge for yourself on that footage, I reckon.
But a much better effort by Bowie, given their last 3 weeks have been fairly disappointing. That was a much better effort to see.
Oh, definitely.
You know, that at half time, 9 points down, and they still just kept chipping away, because they could have turned around after round 9 or 10, and they could have said, look, it's all just too hard and thrown all the toys out of the pram. But they've kept, but they've regrouped to a certain extent, I think.
I think they're a big chance against Old Scotch, and they host them at the Aquarium this Saturday. Brent, in the last game of William Buck Premier, Collegians versus St Bernard's out at the Snake Pit. Collegians took it right up to the Burnies.
They certainly did, and this one is not. You wouldn't put this one in the time capsule to view in later years. It was a very scrappy, low-scoring, dour affair, but high stoppage rate. And as you said, Collegians really took it up to them. They had a clear plan of really slowing the game down. There was plenty of numbers around the ball, and like Scotch against Old Trinity, Collegians had a chance to snatch this one. For the opening 10 minutes of the quarter, they played the majority of the game in their half, but they just couldn't capitalise. And St Bernard's just went down the other end, as we've seen time and time again this year. If you don't make the most of your opportunities, the other side does, and that was the difference in the end. St Bernard's 3-2 to 2-1 in the last.
After St Bernard's opening, Marty, they've had a really dominant period, and then they've just fallen in a way in the last couple of weeks. Is that just a mid-season lull for them?
Yeah, look, I think they're actually just...
They beat Blues by a goal, and they've Collegians who are,
It's different now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, you go from being the hunter to the hunted. Now, I know that they had a really terrific year last year and lost their way towards the end of the year with a very poor finals campaign, but it's the ability to be able to eke out wins and grind out wins, which they have done. I mean, Blues would have gone in there, all hellfire and brimstone. Exactly the same would have happened with Collegians. Collegians are playing for their season too, I think.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden we see that St Bernard's were good enough to grind out a win, and that's what sides need to do at this time of the year, because cold weather, numbers start to drop at training. We all know numbers drop at training. Well, Brendan,
in the words of Damien Hardwick, it's big boy month this time of year. So it is. It's been across the whole VAFA. The sides that have been playing well and are up to the ladder, they've just been scraping over. They've been winning ugly. And as you said, it's this time of year when the relegated side's really fighting for their season.
And I was actually going to make the point, that's the beauty of the VAFA system, 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah.
Because now there are a number of teams that are fighting to either stay in their existing grade, and if we look down through the grades, there's a number of sections where 3 into 2 won't go.
One of those sections is Premier B, and Mazenod and Parkdale Vultures played out a thriller. Parkdale Vultures getting over the line by 8 points to skip a game clear of the Nodders, and the Nodders now in the relegation zone with Caulfield Maroons. Caulfield Maroons 2 games out of the relegation zone. They're in a bit of trouble after they just avoided relegation last year. It's so often the way, isn't it, when you see someone that's done so well to avoid relegation the previous year and then they end up dropping the next year anyway.
Oh, I think that Mazenod would rue that. They'd look at that and say that's a massive opportunity lost. I also think, Caulfield, I think there's a lot of issues that they need to deal with.
Year, have they?
No, they
not
haven't.
at all.
St Kevin's were pushed all the way by Hampton Rovers. Rovers found a game plan that took it right up to Scobbs. Scobbs were inaccurate, and my feedback there is they had about 10 players out of their best 22 there. They've got that ability at the moment, and their twos are flying as well, Scobbs. So they're well on the way to a second semi-final in Premier B. We'll see what happens come finals. In Premier C, Marston and Therry Penola, a bad day for Therry Penola. I'm sure that'll be covered off in good day, bad day. Division 1 though, while we've got you here, Will, we should touch on the state of the Bears and what's happened with Kew in the last couple of weeks.
Well, it's actually on that point we were making earlier with how we talk about slumps or teams just getting over the line when you're on top. Kew could be considered to be in a slump, but a few points either way and it would have just been like they found a way to win. Unfortunately, on the weekend, St Mary's were too good in the stoppages. I'm not saying they bogged the game down, but they were too good in the clinches.
That
really.
statement suggests that
They bogged the game down.
I think I know.
So outside of the fact that the game wasn't bogged down, but it was bogged down.
The actual reason was the man himself was not playing.
Well, he might be one of those players missing. Do you turn up to training in the winter if you've got an injury?
I come along, I stay for about half an hour, then I get in the car, the heater. I think that's more important than being on the track with the boys.
Or in the medical room, does a couple of laps, or it's just really tightening up a bit, might have to get a rub.
That's right.
Yep.
So Kew have lost 2 in a row. That then almost validates Fitzy's theory from earlier in the year that teams and clubs do tend to lose in 2s and 3s. Now, who have you got this week?
We have Old Mentonians away.
Turn a road.
It'll be 3 in a row.
Could
Yeah.
be.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
We will see. It's time now for Good Day, Bad Day.
Cause you had a bad day.
Marty, tell us who had a good day and a bad day on the weekend.
Well, much to the disgust of Will, I'm going to say Ormond had a good day. They played the Ogs, who who beat Kew the previous week, and Ogs are flying, and they saw this as a game where they would certainly win, and Ormond gave them a royal shellacking. They were very good and got themselves a game clear now on top, and looking to reassert themselves and get themselves back into Prem C.
A bad day?
Old Melburnians under 19s played St Bernard's well, they did manage to trouble the scorers, but it was at the end of the first over it was 0 for 1. They only scored the solitary behind for the day. So
Bringing the
bad
mercy
day.
rule, maybe.
Will, good day and a bad day for you.
Well, I went with the good day. Ajax beat Old Brighton. That was a massive upset, but they've beaten them. That's the second time this year they've beaten them in Prem B. And they keep their finals hopes alive. It's going to be a very hard slog from here. Their percentage is nowhere near Brighton's, but they're still in with a shot, so they had a very good day.
Bad day?
Bad day, I went with poor old Masala. Great story behind Masala, but on the weekend they went down 173-0 against Point Cook. Demoralising stuff.
Yeah, might have more to say that. We're going to have a new segment later on in this show today.
Very
so
exciting.
hopefully you can join us for that new segment for Will's predictions. They might feature. Good day and bad day, Brenton?
Good day for me. St Mary's win over bitter rivals. They don't like each other. These two clubs do not like each other, and I love
He's
it.
having a bad day already. Bad day, Will
Absolutely
Barr.
love it. The Bears, the boys down from the leafy streets of Kew, they're starting to wobble a bit. The wheels are starting to really wobble. And bad day for me. Terry Penola. They may have won $5,000 at the Sandown Greyhounds 2 weeks ago.
Did they really?
But
Pray tell.
they kicked 0 goals, 9 points on the weekend.
So hang on, the club won $5,000 at the Sandown Greyhounds.
Sandown Greyhounds.
Mate, what's the story behind that?
Oh, you get the club everyone gets a raffle ticket, gets drawn out. They obviously got called up. You spin the wheel. You win a $1,000 bet that you get to put on the last race of the day, and they won on the nose on the dog. And
Very nice business.
that's about that is about the best news they've had nearly all year. So.
They should forget football and go to pub.
And that was at home too, wasn't it? That loss was at home.
Another one at home, yes, yeah, and that's a big loss.
That is a huge loss. Yeah.
My good day was Parkdale Vultures. They had a fantastic win, and they might have a stay of execution in Premier B after only having the one season when they first came up 2 years ago. They're looking to try and secure a third season in Premier B. They went a long way to doing that with a win over Mazenod on the weekend, albeit they've got a few games to go, tough ones, 5 more games. Bad day, the old Kerry skipper, Cam Howard, copped this kick in the face, a falcon as we like to call it. That's a bit of a tough blow for the skipper of old Kerry. Right, time now, as we said, we mentioned it, we introduced it before. Will Barham, he's joined the panel and he's got his predictions. Willie B's predictions for the year.
Well, I was going to bring a crystal ball in, but it was a bit late. So we'll go with Willie's predictions. Let's look into this one. Anyway, first up, we're going to go with the Old Zavarians.
Okay.
The Old Zavarians have a very, very tough run home. Had a win against Bowie on the weekend, but they weren't overly convincing. Their run home includes St Bernard's away. Then they've got Uni Blues and Uni Blacks in successive weeks away. Then Old Trinity. I mean, Old Trinity are probably the best side in the comp. I'm putting it out there. That's at home. And then the final round of the year is Old Scotch, and that's away as well. And Old Scotch potentially could be playing to keep their Premier A stay alive. So I'm predicting the Old Zavs are going to miss the final, and that'll be the first time since 89-90 they've missed the finals in successive years. Huge.
That is a big prediction, and it's a great start in Will's predictions.
It's done a bit of
I'm
work,
just
hasn't it?
about. Will you have any friends left after that?
I am an Old Zavarian, so probably not there. Next I'll go on with Q. No, I'm kidding. I have next up, we have Pegs. Pegs and Old Camberwell take on each other this weekend, and Pegs are 1-11, 1-12. And let's face it, they were pretty poor on the weekend, but the week before they did beat Peninsula. If they beat Old Camberwell, they'll be 2-12, same as Old Camberwell, with Derry Penola to come in round 18. I'm predicting Pegs to survive in Premier C.
Jeez.
It's a huge tip because they haven't been playing great footy, but neither has Old Camberwell and, of course, Therry, who scored 9 behinds on the weekend.
I like it. You're making the hard calls. Thank you very much. Hope to hear your predictions next week. We'll see how the results go on the weekend. It's time now for Marty Callaghan's Wine of the Week.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, everyone. This week, it's a sibling rivalry from Tabilk. It's a Pinot Gris grown in the King Valley, so the cooler the climate, Pinot Gris grapes ripen that little bit slower, gets the lovely peach, pear, nectarine flavours to it. Really nice accompaniment with seafood and also with chicken. If you would stop it. Maybe at the end of the year we can have a drink, and after your predictions all come right. What we will do is that if you would like to have this at your club functions, or perhaps use this as to put together a mixed dozen for members, contact either Blair down here at headquarters or myself at the wine company. Okay, let's get on to our wine of the week, and this week it's directed, actually, interestingly enough, not at anybody involved. Well, actually, it is involved with people in football, but it's actually involved at Cricket Victoria. So on the weekend we actually saw the last game being played at the Junction Oval, which was a real shame. And Cricket Victoria, when there was a request came from both OMs and Fitzroy, who were the last last VFL tenants to play on the ground, to actually have a game, to have a celebration game, being the last 2 clubs to play on there. It was knocked on the head, and I think that's a real shame. That Cricket Victoria had an opportunity to have a really good feel-good story, get out there. I'm sure that not just local media, but I'm pretty sure that the bigger boys, 7, 9, 10, would have actually wanted to see something like that. See the old Fitzroy Guernsey run around on the junction for its on the last game ever. Opportunity lost.
Disappointing way to end the time of football at the Junction Oval, no doubt. That's all we've got time for. Will, great start.
Thank you.
We might invite you back next week. Marty, welcome back. It's good to have you back on board.
Thanks, Lenny.
Brenton, good luck.
Thank you.
St John's back on the winners list this week.
Yeah, we scraped home, but not playing our best footy, but we'll bounce. We'll move.
Are you
forward
taking it a week at a time?
A week at a time.
Every prediction from Brenton's final
right.
at the end of the year. St John's have won the premiership, he just hasn't said it yet.
No.
We'll catch you again next time on The Tragics.
VAFA TV at vafatv.com.